lines are not the thing itself that we are trying to symbolize with the use of the line. Lines are very, very useful if you're going to not shade as if you are dealing with a 3D object in a 3D room. If you're doing cell shading, go with it. Keep the lines. Make sure they're clean, nice and crisp and varied. But other than that, if you are trying to shade as Leia is trying here, please remember there are some things you simply cannot do. So let's take a look at what these are. For the nostril, Leia, you probably had some trouble with it. You might want to just shade the nostril all the way out. Get rid of that line. So just get rid of the line. Trust me, I'll hold your hand while you do it. Just get rid of the line. You can do it. Get rid of that line. Goodbye line. See you later. Keep that shade though that was there. And get this cheek color. Keep your brush on 100% opacity. And don't blend the nostril with the cheek. You are doing what the line was doing. It's just a lot less messy. And I'm shading this highlight all the way up toward the lips. And now we have the nose. We have the shadows. We have everything intact. It's just that we're not using a line anymore. The line wasn't helping you establish form. It was hiding what you didn't know how to render. What did I just say? I want everyone to write it back to me. Yeah, it looks more real. It looks like what the line was trying to do, just couldn't do it because it's the line. Who's probably high on coffee? Clean and calculated lines are the dope. I like the way you talk, 777. Use more lines, got it. AKA lines are crap. I don't know, you guys make me laugh. I should look at this comment section more. Okay, so basically what I just said was the line was attempting to create form by indicating the presence of the form. So you were using the line because you felt like, yeah, there needs to be an edge here because I know the nostril doesn't go all the way around the cheek. It stops just about here. So I'm just going to put a line right here and pretend that didn't happen. And hopefully my viewers don't notice I used a line. That's pretty much what I imagine you guys, your thinking process. That's how I imagine you guys to be thinking. You don't need the line, Leia. You don't need it, my love. Get rid of it, my love. Alright, next up, where else did you use a line? Let's go in depth here. You used the line over here. Gonna get rid of it. Keep the shade. Don't blend. Gonna get rid of it. Just like this. Now lines are nice, okay, I get it. You guys like lines. Alright? You guys like the line art. Look, lines are beautiful. We wouldn't have manga without lines, and that's saying something. But when you're trying to render realistically, you must remember that the line is no longer necessary because we have something better. Something that has an extra dimension in it. It's no longer a two-dimensional symbol or silhouette of the form. Rather, it is a three-dimensional projection of something three-dimensional in real life, which is the edge and the cube. So please remember, you don't need the line. So literally, Leia, all you gotta do is get that hard edge in there, just like this. And look at what you found. You found some form. And that's hireable. Hireable is something I use a lot as a term. You'll get paid for this if you can do this. You'll get paid, I promise. Because it works, it reads, it represents something that exists, and that's important. Alright? So let's take a look at what these lines were hiding from us, these huggy lines, what they were hiding. Before, after. The lines were keeping this face from shining, from existing, from achieving its dreams. Right? I want you guys to do more of this and less of this. This is a transition period you're in, Leia. Right now you're painting a lot, you're in a transition period. Soon you'll realize lines can help you, but only in the beginning. After a while, they must be removed. I'm going to bring in some light on the high points of the nostrils because the nostrils also get some light on them. So Leia, I'm very proud of you. Keep it up. I do want to see the rest of the stuff that you make. Don't stop. I love your motivation. It's even motivating me. So don't stop. And for the rest of you, please try to learn a thing or two from Leia. If you guys go on Facebook, you'll see all the stuff that she's been posting. She's been painting a lot, and I'm seeing the same thing from other students as well who post on the group, on the Hangout. Not the Hangout. Why do I keep saying that? It's because it's Google+. On the community. So most of these I'm picking up off the Google community. So if you guys want me to see your work directly and not worry whether or not I got the link or not, please go to the Google community and join it and engage in the conversations that we have there. Between the critique hours, we just hang out there. We talk there. I'm always on that. Any comments, any slight comment that you make, I will be notified and I will see it. And again, thank you. I didn't thank Mr. Mambuto, he left, but thank you for the birthday gift, Mr. Mambuto. He drew an awesome picture. Let me show you where I can find it. Documents, desktop, defense. There we go. He drew me because I'm faceless though, so he didn't draw my face, but he drew me and I have a cube head and he gave me a cake for my birthday, and there's a ruler sword attached to my back that I can beat you guys up with. So I can punish you guys if you don't listen to the rules. I've had a lot of great stuff sent to me. You guys are great. Thank you for all the fan art that you guys give me. It's really sweet. It's all on the website. I think on the new one. I'm not sure. On to something else. So another big rule about painting faces is the dark spots. So the dark spot on your face should be the darkest point in the face. So as you've seen from my videos, the how-to videos, what I usually do, where is it? What I usually do is I just get the darkest point and just plop a pupil right there. Always try to cross the pupils a little bit. She looks like she's not really looking at a point in the distance. She looks like she's zoned out, right? Like an android. So what you want to do is you want to give her a little bit of life by pointing in asymmetrically. Here, let me do it with the liquify first. Pulling in the eyes just a little bit as if they're looking at a point in the distance. So now she looks like she's looking at something. And once I place in the pupils, she'll look like there is a point in the distance that she is focused on, instead of before where she looked a little bit zoned out. Now she looks like she's focused on something, which is really important in your portrait. You want to feel like the character is alive. Another thing that you have to remember is you also have to remove the lines here as well. So how do you're probably really confused on how to do this. How do you remove the lines on eye creases but maintaining the crease? So all you got to do is just combine the crease with the skin. So look at what I'm doing. I'm combining the line. So I tried teaching this before last class and how to use the lines to sort of maintain the detail. So this is what I'm doing. The crease is a bit too forward. It does extend only more than half, a little more than halfway. I'm going to bring in that highlighter and put it on the eye line, or the eyelid, right above the eye line. So this is pretty much how you replace a line. You just take some of it with you and get rid of the rest. Same thing here. You don't need a line unless there's deliberate makeup. Then you might want to smudge it a little bit. You also want to have a lower eyelid as well. Remember, the lower eyelid, like I always say, is not a mythological creature. It's not fake. It's real. It exists. So have it in your images. Then we've got the shadow of the eyeball, the shadow of the eyelid on the eyeball. Maintain that shadow. The shadow of the upper area of the eye. And you've drawn the eyes a little bit symbolically. So what you've done is you've drawn an oval shape for the eyes. You've drawn a little bit of an oval shape. That means that it is not circular. It does not have this circular nature to it. And that's not a good sign. It means that you are still dependent on your lines. You're still dependent on some past sort of role lines played in your artistic development. So it could have been an anime stage, It could have been just, sketching on your sketchbook. It could have been a lot of reasons, for a lot of reasons why you draw your eye like this. But please don't do that. Make sure that you have a cylinder, a sphere underneath, and you are wrapping the eyelids around that eye. And that's the only way you'll really get an eye that feels like it can blink, like it can function. And that's the point of painting realistically, is that you are imitating not only the realistic shading and the realistic contours and shadows and lighting, but you are also imitating the function. So function is very, very necessary in your render. I usually bring in a nice soft white over the eyes, nothing too extreme, and I brush in some of that light. The eyes are a little bit asymmetrical at this point, and I will fix them. So I'm going to jump into liquify, and I'm going to bring in some spherical reshaping sort of for the eye. So making them a little bit more wrapped around an actual eyeball. And when you have the eyelids, when you use the eyelids, when you paint them, remember that you're wrapping them around a sphere. So you literally just have to draw a circle on another layer and just keep your eyes around that circle. I'm just trying to find a good balance. I'm gonna fix this eye. Sorry about the traffic noise. I'm really close to the main road. So they're kind of looking like they're looking at me now. And I can feel like an association with the character after that happens. I'm going to combine the shadow here. So you need to get a good hold over your shadows as well, Leia. Make sure that you build your palette before you start painting. Shadow here. There will also be a shadow in between the eyebrows, don't forget. And some of that yellow on the chin, on the face, will also be on the eyes as well. Some shading, some of that brown will be on the outskirts of the eye, just like this, extending out beneath the brow. And please, please, please don't use a small tiny brush and make many small tiny strokes for the eyebrows. The eyebrows do not work like that. And the eyebrows are limited to the width or diameter of the eye. And so where the eye starts, that's where the eyebrows should start, ideally speaking. And where they end, that's where they should end. They should also have an arch that works with the eye. So the deepest, heaviest part of the eyebrow should be right above the eye, like so. I'm going to bring in some of that highlighter on the inner corner of the eye. Shade some more around the eye. You can see the eye is really starting to come to life. I'm going to bring in that pink and put it on the inner waterline. That again is function. We are reinforcing function. I'm getting rid of these lines you have. You don't need these lines. Replace them with function. Write this down as you're listening to me. Replace your lines with function. That can be a little bit vague if you don't have context. But basically it means let your lines be replaced with something that is actually there in real life. So the thing that the line is pointing to should be the thing that replaces the line. Sorry, I'm not looking at your comments, you guys. Again, don't use this simple tiny brush for eyelashes. Try to enlarge your brush and create a pattern instead of the actual eyelash. So if you get your brush, enlarge it a little bit, and just create a fuzzy pattern or a fuzzy stipple, it'll read as lashes way better than tiny little lines that are attracting detail, because these tiny little lines are pulling attention away. They are attracting all the detail, and that's not good. Again, with the eyebrow, just fixing that, bringing in that fuzz. And if you want the eyebrows to feel more real, you want to bring in that detail. That's not how you bring in the detail with those tiny little lines. You bring it in like this. Drag in the outer color and then drag it down over the brow just like that. On the opacity, larger to smaller. You'll get that downward growing hair feeling. And you just got to keep doing that, making sure that your brush is large relative to the size of the brow. And just sometimes I just sharpen, so I undo my transfer. Merge the shadow of the inner brow with the shadow in between the eyebrow and the nose. In between the eyebrows, above the nose. And then there will be a shadow falling from the eyebrow down over the eyes, because that's the point of a brow. The brows are shade from the sun. And so they will provide what their function is, which is to provide shade, so that we're going to have to see a cast shadow cast in here somewhere, indicated in your work. Let's see what everyone's talking about. So what did Issa talk about for the past 5 minutes? You forgot or you didn't pay attention? Yeah, the neck also needs to be enlarged, definitely. So we will do that. Alright. So yeah, everyone, come on, drag your attention over to the screen, why don't you? Join me, you 5 that know who you are. Alright. I'm going to bring in the highlight I used on the nose, or beside the nose, and bring it into that shiny part under the eyes. Because eyes have that shiny part that is moist and oily. Kind of looks like this. And I'm going to take away some of the outlines you have on either side of the nose because it's not really working. What you've got to do is you've got to not overshade the bridge, the sides of the nose, because doing that means that you're, again, working with lines. You don't know you're doing it. That's your line anxiety talking. I bring in a dark spot for the nostrils. It needs to be one of the darkest places on the face. If you remember to have your dark spots, you won't have anxiety in landmarking or mapping out the face. As long as you remember to have your dark spots. The nose also has a coarse shadow under it. And the secondary light source, and I've taught this in how to paint the nose. I might do a remastered, a nose, how to paint a nose remastered for you guys. So I'll be doing that. Thank you for your suggestion. I don't know who it was. I think it was on Facebook. Someone said maybe try redoing all of your previous videos, but like with all the new knowledge that you've learned, which is a good idea. It will take time. I'm not saying it's going to happen right away, but it will take time, and I will get to it. And then bringing in some of that pink on the lips as well. And so at this point you see that if where you were before was like the early stages of where we are now. So if you still want to extend the detail, because here we had detail still because of your use of that line and your use of the line on the eyebrows, you can still have this detail, but you need a good base is what I'm saying. So you can have all the lashes that you want, but you have to make sure they come out of a shadow cluster, or else they will not read. They'll read as doll lashes, which seem very, very fake because it's like 1 or 2 lashes attached to the doll. The eyebrow, you can do the same thing. You can bring in some intense lighting, intense shadow, intense detail. You can go full detail. And you'll still get that same feeling. It's just that now you have some cast shadows, you have some function, you have some sort of blend and flow that emerges out of knowledge of what happens in real life. And that makes your character all that more believable. Okay, so there's the difference in that. I can't do both eyes for time, but I will sort of replace this line here before I do the before and after. I will replace this line. Again, just paint right over it. You don't need it. All right. Okay. Same thing here. I'm going to just get the brush and not blend the neck with the chin, because those aren't connected on the outside. They connect after a sort of trail of skin under the jaw, but from where we're looking, they don't connect. And then finally extend the size of the neck. The neck usually just comes out of the jawline. Kind of feel like just doing this because it's not working. I need it to be symmetrical. Do it fast though. It's really easy to do the other eye. You just have to drop tool the colors that you got in there. So you see how we've replaced that eyelid crease really nicely. I'm such a perfectionist, honestly. I need help. Can anyone refer me to a psychiatrist? I need help. I'm going to cast that shadow over that eye. That bang is really, really high. And I'm going to get some of that light and put it on the forehead. And frame the forehead as well. Back to the neck. It's not really smaller. It was the shading that made the eyes feel like they're smaller. 7, 7, 7. You're looking like you're gonna be a troublemaker. And you're proud of it. So because this is kind of like a sort of hybrid of anime and realism, I don't want to make the neck too thick, or else it'll take away from her girliness. But I'm going to throw that basic shadow over. Just like that. Very, very gently. Being really careful not to... We'll clean it. Then I'm going to bring that yellow color again, but only in the fattest part of the neck that sticks out. It's the part of the neck that catches the most light. And then I'll clean this up. I'm not really sure about the color palette you went with as well, so you might want to try painting without color for now, Leia. And then try color after. You need to get a good hold over your values. But other than that, good job. Keep it up. There's some secondary light source over here on this cheek. So you guys can already tell the difference. I'm going to get a common shadow color. It's going to be a little bit pink, a little bit cool, and I'm going to use it to darken all the areas that I want darkened, and we'll darken them with the same amount of red and coolness to it. So the upper lip will get some. Lower area of that lip will get some. And that way we unify the color palette in that area. Those lines that you have on the lips can be replaced. So we're going to completely paint that out and replace those lines on the lips. Again, the lines are useless after a point. They are no longer necessary. Please, please remember that. If you want to succeed in your art, you cannot be dependent on any one technique, any one tool, and lines are that bane of going to be the bane of your experience. If you don't let go of them now, you'll be addicted to them. I'm going to bring in some of that pink on the lips, on the nose. Noses do get red, and a little bit on the cheeks, a little bit on the eyelids, so it can feel a little alive. And I'm going to bring in some green, turquoisey green, under the eyes, right here on that thinnest area of the eye. Because that area tends to be a little bit discolored. A little bit thinner skin. So the purple of the blood vessels and the yellow of the skin or the blue of the blood vessels turn out a green. And so all of this was done in front of you. There's nothing magical going on. There's no hocus pocus. So you can duplicate everything that you saw here. If you just follow a basic, study system, realize that you just need to come up with a good palette early on and use that palette, and your lines are only useful up to a point. After you start blending and not blending your edges, after you start getting a good hold over your edges, you no longer need that line. So you can remove that line and replace it with the edges that you will be painting in. Right now I'm just softening the edges, trying to get those moist areas so the nose can be a little bit shiny. Oopsie, a little bit shiny. The lips can be a little bit shiny as well. The eyes can be shiny. Whoopsie. And then I'm just going to zoom in and sort of sharpen the eye area out a little bit. You also don't need that much of a line around the eyes. It is present. Some eyes don't have it, especially brown eyes. Sometimes you need it only at the top under the shadow, and that's where it's really visible. I'm just going to resaturate the eyes because I kind of lost their saturation. I'm just going to get that brown again that I got rid of. Bring a little bit of it over on the eyes. Just like this. And that nice pale yellow that we have here, I'm just working with the colors you chose. I'm going to press it over the eyebrow, just on the areas where the eyebrow is getting some light. And you see now that we got rid of the lines, we have a big chance to play around with the high points and the low points. We've introduced ourselves into the third dimension. And so this character of yours has come alive. And that's the lesson, is that as long as you are sticking to your lines, your character will never really come to life. And everyone wants to see their original character come to life. So everyone wants to see the realistic version of everything. Realistic Homer Simpson, realistic Pokemon, realistic God knows what. When it comes to the hair touching the face, you just want to just drop tool the hair color and create a halo just around that area, carrying up from the eyes. I don't want any harsh shadows though. I do want to keep everything nice and soft. So I'm going to change the color of this shadow here to something warmer. So she's got a lot of pink on the lower parts of her face, but barely any pink near the tops. So I'm going to balance all these colors out, and then I'm going to bring all that pink down with a green. You don't always have to use a green. This is a lot of pink on the face. But you can use a green because it's like a quick fix. Red and green are opposites on the color wheel. So you can get like a pastel gray and put it on really low opacity and brush it over areas you feel like are too pink, and you won't get green, you'll get a dulled down pink, and you'll get that nice skin tone color. leaving only areas that we really need to have pink in them as the lips. And finally, just another quick halo over the shadows. And that's it. The face has changed a lot. So before, after. So it's a big jump, definitely a big jump, but this is the realistic version of what you were drawing. And that's what you always want to do. You want to bring your character to life in that way. That you're not losing the real feeling of the character that you have in your line art. You're just bringing in that character, but with drawing that same character but with a different reality, with a third dimension. Alright? Thank you, 7, for your applause. Unnecessary applause. I'm just sharpening out the background. Please, no applause. Thank you. Applause are not necessary unless they are, the ritual for learning. That's good. You can clap, but clap for yourselves because you learned it. Alright, so before, after. This is all because we got rid of the lines. Getting rid of the lines opens the door for edges and that beautiful relationship between edges. The way I shaded the eyes is all about function. The way I shaded the nose, the mouth, it all feels real. So that's what I want you guys to go for. The head feels more 3D because we had that shadow in between the eyebrows. The lips feel more 3D as well. The eyes also feel 3D because we're casting shadows from the upper eyelid onto the rest of the eye. We also cast the shadow from the nose down over the lips, so the lips felt like they were sticking out because that shadow was pointing to how they were sticking out. We enlarged the size of the neck, cast the shadow over the neck. You didn't have much of a shadow there before because your lines were in the way. Now that feels a little bit more realistic, yeah? Feels more realistic-y. I'm Istebrak, I'm from Canada. I don't know what you Americans are all about. But us in Canada, we like our maple syrup. I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell's happening. A little bit of light under the brow. Kind of like that. My characters. Alright, before, after. Why do I sound country? Probably sound more country than Canadian. Alright. Next step is spaces. So space, you always have the same kind of issues with the faces that you draw. Here, 1 second, something's in my eye. It's really bothering me. Probably Aussie hair. Sleeping like you didn't do anything. Yeah, I see you. But, something that you always do, space, is, or Matthias, is you overdraw the features and they don't fit in the head that you draw. Alright, so what you do is you draw big eyes, big nose, big mouth. That if you just had the head a little bit larger, they would fit in. So what you don't do, which you should start doing, is you should start mapping out the face before you start. That means that you have to draw the horizontal and vertical lines like this. And these will help you match the corners of the lips. You see one is down here and one is up here. Draw the vertical so that you can match the nose in and throw the eyes separate areas. And then when you start sketching, this is clearly done on paper, draw a quick sketch of where the eye will exist in. And then start drawing the details over it. Don't just go straight in with your line and hope that it fits. Just because the eye is drawn well doesn't mean it's the right size. So you have a serious scaling problem that you're neglecting. You have to start fixing it because you invest so much detail in your paintings and your sketches, and they're so well rendered that because they're so well rendered, tiny mistakes like these become really, really, really obvious. So please start shrinking your features, and the way to do this smartly is to map out the face. Alright? Sexy arc. Who are you, the 7-7? You seem familiar to me. I feel like I know you. I feel like I know you. Yeah, I think it's mostly because the feeling of the enlarged features is because of the big features of the lips. The lips kind of bring in that ogre feeling. So when you shrink the lips down, that ogre feeling will just be eliminated. Remember the ogre and the elf. Please, please, please. I make these videos for a reason so you guys learn. I don't just put them up there. I mean, if I start making a lot of money on YouTube, I will just start putting them up there. But I'm joking. But for now, it's not. It's all about you guys. Until later on when it's going to be all about me and that dough. But until then, I'm joking. I'm not joking. I'm joking. Alright, so I'm just bringing this neck in. You kind of have the tilt of the head a little bit disproportionate, but it's a little bit better now than it was before, where you had really, really large features. Okay? What you need to do is sort of control the size is a little bit better. And the shadow needs to be taken all the way up there so that you can close off the face. I'm just going to throw some hair over here. Throw some hair over here as well. Time to sell out for those riches. I don't even know how to sell out. I wouldn't even know where to start if I wanted to sell out. Maybe I underestimate myself. Right, the shoulder is a little bit sharp. So what you want to do is round it off. Yeah, it's bony, but it won't be that sharp. Just making them symmetrical. You're still drawing the symbolic female body. That's something that you're still doing. You don't need it that much. You don't need the other shadow for the breast. You really don't need it. You feel like you do because you're still drawing symbolically. And I'm not really sure how else to explain it. I've explained it so many times already. But you don't need that extra shadow there. You see? Do you see? Just tell me that you see. Do you see? Tell me. It's still reading, right? Because we've got some shadows there. But what you did was you outlined with the shadow. All you gotta do is just bring in a couple shades. Alright? So that was symbolic. That's why you brought that extra circle in, because in your mind, you pervert, boobs look like this to you. So when you shade them, you're like, yeah, I've got this line, so in my mind, okay, and then you're just going to bring this one in there. It's like, yeah, yeah. uh, Nobody is here. I absolutely agree with you. Alright, space. So that's why you drew that little bit. Other than that, everything seems okay. You might want to rethink, this line here might not be necessary. You don't need that extra little step for the crotch. You might want this to connect like that. So let's look at the before and after. Excuse me. Before, after. Does this second character not read better to you guys? The eyebrow is way too high. So we didn't take away from your style. Your style is still intact. It's just that now we've sort of invested some realism, just a little bit. See how sharp that shoulder was? How large the eyes were? That unnecessary line you had near the crotch, the excess size of the ribs, you were drawing symbolically. In your mind space, when I say woman, you see this. Okay? So this is like the quick image that happens like right away in your mind. This is like every man. All right? A little bit of body hair. so so a little bit more body hair right there. Okay. So that means that all right, everyone pay attention. It's not a comedy club. So that means that this will translate over for when you're trying to do remnants of these, pieces of these in your mind, this quick flash image in your mind. These will come over into the drawing. You have to control that. If you don't control it, you will always continue to draw symbolically, and that's not good. You want control over your form structure. You want to be able to read it, and being able to read it, others can as well. Alright, so that's that. Send that to you. And this one, by Correggio, I think. I'm going to liquefy. When you're drawing male characters, I'm really not sure what kind of reference you use, but you kind of want to shrink the eyes if you're not going to draw them realistically completely. Because as long as they're not 100% realistic, they're still going to have that level of cartoony in them. You want to be careful when you draw the male eye. So the male eye should not be tilted up. That's really female. It should be tilted down just a little bit. I'm going to kind of get rid of his smile because he seems like he's like, what? What are you doing that? What? That's kind of like his expression. His smile is very, very symbolic, meaning you just have the, you just have that smiley face smile, this dot dot and then happy face. That's what you were working with. Smiles don't work like that. Smiles have fat folds. Sometimes they're just extremely horizontal, so you can still make him look like he's smiling without having to tilt his lips upward, believe it or not. Or not. Alright, so I'm just going to close off his jawline, close off his chin, and kind of make his jawline a little bit more cubic, because that's what will interrupt the female signifiers that he's got going on. You also might want to throw some, so what you're dealing with first of all is a white background. God help you, how do your eyes handle this? You first need a gray background, please. Pretty please for me. For me. Oops. Alright, after you do that, lasso didn't work very well. After you do that, you kind of want to control, get a good palette going for skin, so you got to prepare your palettes beforehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cool down all the shadows. Color. These shadows are too red. Actually, I'm just going to get a gray. Gray will cool down as well. I'm also going to get that gray and place it over areas of the beard, because you've got some peachy parts on that beard area, and that's going to read as splotches on his skin. I'm also going to get one color layer, color, and use that to throw over every area that has color in it. You want to minimize the reds and the pinks as much as possible, using them only where you need them. So right now the color palette seems to be a bit more controlled. Now we can bring in a color, a pink, that sort of matches everything. So I'm going to cool it down a little bit. I don't want to bring in a warm pink. And I'm going to use it mostly on the inner eye, or eye itself. A little bit on the lips, not too much. and a little bit on the nose, and that'll do it. After that, then comes that tricky bit where we are dealing with the highlights that you've used. So these highlights that you've placed in are kind of a bit tricky because especially the hairline is a little low. So I'm going to get rid of these highlights, and you also got lots of greens in here. You just really just threw in every color. Kind of the highlights were the only thing that you had going in the, because if I hide the highlights, you know, the color is really, really dull. So what those highlights were doing was just concealing the kind of, not dull, they were really splotchy. And there wasn't much texture going on that represented realistic texture. So the only thing the form you had going for form is these really super saturated splotches of light. And those aren't doing it for you. You got to get a good skin tone. You got to choose the skin tone. So go into the little color picker. Choose some skin tones you want to work from. So this will be the base tone. And then I'm going to make this my sort of darker tone, so I'm going to saturate along a line. Alright, so this will be all the darker shades in the skin, and then you're going to choose a yellow-based light tone for the skin. And then that's it. Out of this, you really, and then you also need this desaturated version, so you got to curve this way. Alright, so out of this you can build your skin. But right now what you have after I brought down the colors is you basically have, you know, a bunch of randomized color combinations and all the odd spots. So you have like a bridge that is overshaded that you don't really need to shade. You have no core light causing any core shadows, so we would need to see some cast shadows. The highlighters would be in all of these areas, and yet there are none in these areas, so that's where we need to start seeing them. We need to see a solid skin tone color in between all of these highlights. We need to keep this area desaturated because it's the beard area, so that's why I graded over. And everything here is peach. Everything is this base tone because that's his skin. Like, unless he has a really bad skin problem and you want to render that in there, like if you're drawing some sort of ogre or some sort of zombie guy, you don't want to interrupt the fact that skin is technically smooth. Never color randomly. All these shadowed areas here, you can use some of this shadow color. And then all the shadowed areas that have some reds in them can use this shadow color, and then you'll have a nice combination of everything. But before, where you were before was a little bit messy, kind of not going in any specific place. You got some greens on the forehead. You had a really sort of unfocused expression happening. So I kind of brought down that expression a little bit. So before, after, kind of seemed a little bit more stabilized. I do recommend going into some 14-day challenge. That'll really help you as well. But if you want a quick fix, this is pretty much it. Just balance the highlights the way you did them on the other side. Bring in some highlights for the upper lip. Some highlights for the jaw, but also you got to desaturate it into the gray because that's his jaw. It's got some 4 o'clock shadow or whatever it's called, 5 o'clock. So bye bye guys, have a great day. Thank you everyone for coming. Bye bye.